All right, guys, welcome to the Life Agency Builders podcast. My name is Julius Gilgur.
And I'm Clay Sweet.
And we are the co-hosts of this podcast. And guys, the purpose of this podcast is to learn what other agency builders are doing in the life insurance space to build their agency so that way they can help tons and tons of families and really create a life that they don't need a vacation from. And today we have our friend and mentor, one of our mentors, John Wetmore.
The noises in the background. I like it.
You like that? we got some special effects here, man. But hey, John, we're happy and excited to have you on. Thanks for joining us, man. And let's jump right in, man. So your agency is massive. You've been in the insurance game for a while, but it looks like you guys are averaging. You got about 800 agents or so writing business on a monthly basis, and you guys are serving about 10,000 families a month. That's insane, dude. So talk to us a little bit about how you got into this business and what really got you on this side of the fence.
Yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the intro. So I got started very slow, first of all. The first time I looked at the business, I actually answered a Craigslist ad.
Didn't you do that?
I answered a Craigslist ad as well, my friend. So let's go. Let's go to Craigslist.
We're in the same club. Yeah.
Maybe there's some magic there.
Like, Craigslist. Yeah. So I answered a Craigslist ad, except I didn't do anything. So I answered a Craigslist ad in like 2008, and the guy was like in another state, and I was like half serious. I was working a job at the time, just trying to figure a way out, and came across it and literally did nothing. It took me 2 years to get my license. So 2 years later, someone else had mentioned it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that thing. Decided to get licensed, and I dialed literally once for like a solid 30 minutes I put into it, booked no appointments and quit. And took me 2 years to book my first appointment from there. So I got started in 2012 legit. I had a buddy reach out and hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Just like, hey dude, what are you up to? I'm sure you're miserable and hate your job. I'm doing this thing. I know this guy, you remind me of him. And he was talking about Sean, and he's like, you might be interested. I'm like, what is it? He does insurance. I was like, nah, I ain't doing that, bro. Tried that. And he's like, come on, man. He's local. He's a buddy. And we go downtown, and he's like, come down to the bar, little local bar, restaurant type thing, and chat. And he brought me down there. So I went since I knew him. And he showed me like the business model. Most other people had introduced it to me as like a sales gig, just selling life insurance, which whatever. But when he showed it, I was in mortgages with this dude previously. So he related it to more of the building side for me. And he certainly talked about sales and what people were doing. But the bigger picture was, dang, that person's loud. The bigger picture was, here's how you can build a business out of it. Here's how overrides work. If you hire people, and he went through the whole thing. And then he told me stories about people that were killing it already. And I'm like, dude, if they can figure that out, I could. And they weren't like small numbers. I'm like, so I can mess up and do a quarter of that and make more than I'm making on my job. So from that day, dude, I was in, and that was summer 2012.
That's awesome.
When I officially started. Yeah.
That's awesome, John. So like you just mentioned, we're real big on activating both sides of the contract, right? So you've got your sales muscle and then your building muscle, right? So when you decided to start building, could you just kind of touch on like kind of what your philosophy is on leading from the front and kind of how you structured your week to both sell at a high level and build at a high level?
Yeah, well, where you messed me up there is you said when you started, because when I started, I didn't do it like that.
Okay.
I started building day one, which I think a lot of people make the mistake of. And probably the part I made the mistake of, although I was hiring day one and recruiting day one, I didn't do a good job of promoting day one. So I was trying to kind of keep them all in a corner and corral them all and deal with them myself. And I wasn't doing much crap. I was mediocre at best. And a lot of people quit me. So I was hiring a ton of people, but they weren't doing anything. What did change it for me for sure was leading from the front and starting to really change my level of activity and my effort towards this and taking it more seriously and understanding that like I was complaining about external factors for my lack of success. But the reality was when I look back, dude, I was running like 12 appointments a week, which means I'd be lucky to sit 8 and If I sold a couple, it'd be a great week. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't working out. And when I started seeing other people in the industry that were killing it, and they were doing double or triple the amount of activity I was, like it was normal. That's all I did was change that. And I committed to running 30 appointments a week. And I was already doing the recruiting part. That didn't change, but I went to doing 30 appointments a week for my personal, and then 30 interviews a week for the recruiting side. And I was crazy consistent with it, dude. And my, the personal volume went through the roof, started getting to the point where, helping 10 people a week or whatever. And I wasn't so worried about, like at the beginning, man, I was building for the override. I was building for the business. I was building for me, really, is the truth. And when I started like producing for myself and not worrying about what others did or didn't do, and just provided an opportunity to people, and if they took advantage of it, great. And if they didn't, I kept it moving. Dude, it's weird. That started attracting a lot of people. And that was 2015. It started taking off, man. And, my production didn't suck, and people were attracted to that. And then again, I stopped caring if someone chose to work with me or not. I just didn't care, and it's much like clients, like at the beginning, we tend to have commission breath, and when we realize that the clients need our help more than we need them, if we're doing the right activity, we're not so worried about any one individual client. Right. So then we can just focus on the ones that are actually looking for help. And if they aren't, no big deal. We keep moving. And it became the same for me on the building side, dude. And I didn't need agents. I was producing at a high level, and I'm as 1099 as they were. They didn't have to work with me. I didn't have to work with them. So for me, it had to be a good fit for someone that I was going to work well with. And again, people definitely want things they can't have. And I just kind of started not pulling away, but I just stopped caring. I just stopped worrying about if people worked with me, because I knew I was going to be okay either way. And dude, it started, and since then we've doubled every year, at least. Sometimes we tripled.
So John, one of the things that, when you look at your agency, one of the things that you have done, or your team has done really well, is you guys have produced some of the top producers in the industry. I mean, you guys got some workhorses and some people that
studs, man.
Yeah, just real good studs, right? Like, not only are they solid people, their activity, their ethic, their work ethic is super high. So talk to us a little bit about, how you think you were able to accomplish that, how you were able to find these people, mold them into that, because not everyone performs and produces at that level, or even wants to work at that level. So just trying to understand what we can do, whether it's us or the viewers, to duplicate what some of your guys have done.
One, it's setting the expectation, right? And like I was taught all of this. It's not like I have some magical thing I wasn't taught. All of this I learned. And I was taught to normalize things and minimize things. So all the stuff we deal with, it's no big deal. It's all good. It's part of the game. You know what I mean? Like the no-shows and the cancels and the chargebacks, and the roll, all the stuff. Like it ain't going nowhere. Certainly you get a little better at it, whatever. But dude, I'll pick up the phone today and I'll get hung up on just like day one. It's going to be no different. So I learned to really minimize and not allow others, because I stopped making a big deal out of things, which allowed me to help others not make a big deal out of things. So that was first. And then it allowed me to get them to focus on the correct things, which are activity. Because most people focus on the stuff and they want to fix the stuff. They want their phone script better. They want their leads better. They want to know exactly what to say to Sally and Joe and Bob. And they want to, how do I get them to not cancel? Which I ain't mad at. Dude, that's not where you make the real money. The real money's accepting the stuff and doing 2 or 3 times the amount of activity. That's where the real money's at. And I learned that I could, what's up, brother? I learned that I could get people to believe that they could do more than they're doing currently way faster than I could get them to believe they can get better. So I stopped focusing on the get better part. And I realized that would be like a great, I don't know, consequence ain't the right word, but a great result of the more activity. Does that make sense? So I just started focusing on the activity because that's what worked for me. You know what I mean? And all the worries about all the stuff just went away. And for me, I just related it to baseball, dude. Like, You see these guys go up there and get 10 at bats and they get 3 hits, they're fired up. And they ain't expecting to get 8 ever. And if it happens, they go like, "Ooh, that's a nice streak. I know it's going to be the opposite next week." You know what I'm saying? It's like they don't ever go like, that could be the new norm. They don't try to do that. They just accept the law of large numbers. But over the course of years and months and years, you get to all-star games and Hall of Fame if you do it consistently. And so I started just speaking to people the same way, man, and just really focusing on the activity. And if you break it down by the hours, like 30 appointments, dude, right? Let's say there. Yeah. Most people, if you run 30, if you book 30, how many you got to sit?
20, 25.
Do 25 if you're amazing.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be 20.
Yeah.
Right? How long is your average appointment?
Hour.
Yeah.
Dude, we're talking 20 hours. How many appointments can you book in an hour? 3 or 4?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're like 6 hours on the phone, 20 hours in the houses. Like, it's not even full time. So people running 12 appointments a week, I'm like, again, I did it. And you know how much free time I had? I was home all the time. I was never working. You know what I mean? I was doing laundry. I was sleeping in, doing chores around the house. I was taking care of stuff, doing the grocery shopping and all that crap.
You were busy, right? You were super busy doing laundry.
Yeah, well, yeah, correct. And I'm like, I dialed all day, man, and only booked 3 appointments. And I'm like, I just took all day to damn dial, And I just started speaking to people about the truth, you know what I mean? And not withholding it. And again, if you're running 12 appointments a week, I ain't mad at you, but just understand it's part-time. It ain't full-time. And I stopped letting people measure if this is full-time or not by whether or not it's their only job. It's full-time when you run 30 a week. It's not full-time because it's all you do. You just have one great part-time gig if you run 12 appointments a week or 15 or 20 or whatever your number is. And for me, I started doing, I worked in corporate America a bunch, and I was always in blue collar work, and I got timed to do stuff, right? So I got timed how much I'm on the phone. I got timed how many boxes I pick per hour in a warehouse. And I started looking at it like, dude, the timer goes on when the phone's ringing to a client. And as soon as I hang up, the timer goes off. So I can't go, I just dialed 3 hours and made 28 dials. No, dude, I work 28 minutes. It's the time I get. And then every appointment, so every dial became a minute, every appointment became an hour. And I didn't count drive time. And I started pushing people to 40 hours of actual timed work. And dude, it changed everything, man. And my goal was to have as many, in our world, we call them Hall of Fame producers as possible. And again, I started it. I only did it 1 year, being honest, but that just became the normal thing I talked about.
So John, and you just did a great job explaining it, but just something that I've struggled with, specifically in the beginning, I made it out to be rainbows and butterflies. You're going to do so well and you're going to kill it. And then, they don't. And it's like, it kind of is, it's like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? So I've kind of gone to the other route of being like, look, this is going to happen. You're going to get chargebacks. You're going to have no-shows. And so what is your recommendation for us on kind of normalizing the beginning of the process for newer agents with also setting the expectations that they are going to go through some struggles in the beginning?
Yeah, it's not unnormal to go through struggles if you want to learn something new. Mm-hmm. Meaning if we go, I'm going to Zach's wife, she's in medical school. That's hard, right? And she's got to do it for 10 or 12 years and not get paid. But she understands what she's getting into because one day she'll make X amount doing this for a career, right? We go to, I don't know, when I worked in a warehouse, it was hard because I had to learn it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you do. There's always a learning curve with something new, but most people expect it situationally, right? So I make a lot of analogies, meaning I explain it the way you do. The stuff is what it is. But if I was going to start working out, if I'm in bad shape, right? And I go, you know what? I'm ready to get fit. I want abs by summer. One, we know that's probably not a reality. I was thinking about that too. But if I'm going to start working out, dude, what's it feel like when you start working out at the beginning?
Horrendous.
It's painful.
That pain and that soreness. And now if you start working out for a little while and then you stop and then you go back to it, that pain happens again.
Oh yeah. But
if we keep working out, it's weird. The pain don't stay. It's not the same.
That's a great
Now you get a
analogy.
little soreness, sure, but it's just because you're working hard. But it's not like you can't walk. That's only at the beginning. And this is very similar for me. You know what I mean? And if I can relate it to exactly what they did, which I can almost always do, you know, someone's a nurse and it's like, dude, I'm sure it was hard to learn all those words and what happens if they have this thing or that thing, or how to identify what they got going on, or what needle to give them or what med to give them. Like, that's got to be hard. You certainly didn't know that your first day on the job. And I can relate it to something they understand. I can relate it to kids. You know what I mean? Like, dude, your kid's going to go learn basketball. Like, you don't expect them to be a pro in 3 weeks, do you? It's going to take them a hot minute. Yeah. And if he cried after 3 weeks and he was upset, he's not a superstar, what would you tell him?
Nobody would be a superstar after 3 weeks, son.
I'm mad. I'm not good. What do you say? Go practice more. You got to practice more.
Yeah.
Dude, we've been ingrained with that since the time we're like taught. You know what I mean? So I continue to not. They're the ones that are making this unnormal, that it's hard to learn something new. Right? And we allow them. We allow them to dictate that thought process. And I'm like, man, what are we talking about? It's normal for a learning curve to suck in almost anything. You want to learn a new language, buckle up.
Yeah.
What's the best way to learn? Dive in.
Learn by experience, right?
You know what I mean? Correct. You dive in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's, so I just, dude, I'm for sure when I'm recruiting people, dude, I'm trying to weed them out. I'm trying to get off the phone with them. I'm talking about the main points of what we do to see if they have a willingness to even enter this. I'm so transparent, and I do it through stories and analogies mostly, dude, because people can relate to that stuff, and I don't have to like beat them over the head. It just make it, again, very, very, very normal.
That's awesome. That's a really good
and
insight.
just ask them, dude, are you willing to go through this process? One of my favorite things to get to know someone. Like, hey, let me ask you a question, man. You get started, and your first hour dialing, you get, I don't know, the first few hours dialing, you get 25 people to pick up, and you don't book any appointments. What's that gonna? How are you gonna handle that? You gonna like curl up and cry, or are you gonna realize you need to get a little better? What's your personality like? Let them answer it. I want to know them. Are they gonna crumble? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever had someone say that they're going to curl up in a ball and cry if that happens?
They usually go, what happens is they go, wait, that can happen? Which says what? They ain't ready.
Ready.
You know what I mean? That can happen. No, that will happen.
Yeah.
Dude, I could pick up the phone today and make X amount of dials and get cussed out and hung up. You know what I mean? Like, it's not could happen. It will happen. It is going to happen. So are you going to be able to handle it? Do you know what you're getting into? No different than if you opened any business on planet Earth. Stuff's going to happen. Just what's the stuff in your industry? You know what I mean? And most people, depending on what they get into, they just accept it up front. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you can make great money doing this. Sure. And some people do kill it right away, but the overwhelming majority don't. And the ones who do kill it right away, I've learned, that's almost worse. Because they come in killing it. 3 weeks in, they get smacked in the face. Mm-hmm. Whoo! I've seen them curl up and cry, bro.
That's true.
I have seen them.
So, John,
I almost like someone to get beat up at the beginning and go through it right away.
See if they're willing to fight through it.
Yeah.
So, John, talk to us a little bit about, as your agency grows, right? And we're in this process where we're turning this corner, right? We got about 100 writing agents between us. And we're developing leaders, right? What tips would you give agency leaders to help build other leaders to build their agency? Because you got levels of leadership within your organization. So obviously we want to build that out as well over time, and others, the viewers are going to want to do that as well. So what tips would you give on that?
One, leadership is taken, not given. You can't make anyone a leader. Never gonna happen. I tried. Don't work. You just can't do it. Leaders are going to step up. You can certainly challenge people. You know what I mean? You can push people further. You can coach. You can do all those things. But for me, what I've learned works best is looking for qualities of people who want to lead on their own and help them mold it. You know what I mean? No different than you can't help an individual producer have a work ethic or motivate them. You ever have someone ask you, hey, can you help motivate me?
Yeah.
Like,
unfortunately, I have.
Like, what? Say that out loud a few times. Like, what? So, but it's the same with the building side, man. So for me, what I look for, and it's a simple process, simple thing for me, dude, is if you take, you said you have 100, say take, how many legs are there?
3.
Okay, cool. So for me, of those 3, I go like, who stands out? Like, you don't have to name them. Right. Who stands out more than the other 2? Comes right to mind. Right? It's usually clear as day. That's why I pour into more. Now, in those groups, maybe there's 10 or 15 that are doing more production than the rest, right? Individually. Right? Of those 10 or 15, who are the 2 or 3 that stand out? You can name them usually right off the rip.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can identify them. Go, give me those 3. Come over here. And I can pull them in and pour into them more. Now I can go, hey, you seem to be killing it, man. You're hiring a little bit on your own. Are you trying to build something? You know what I mean? Instead of like when I was new, dude, I tried to get everyone to do it. And I'm certainly can make a platform where anyone can recruit and add people. You know, a lot of people get stuck on the, I don't know how to train or I'm not ready thing. And I'm like, dude, recruiting and training aren't the same. You can recruit and not train anyone. Like I got that covered. You recruit them, I'll take care of them. You'll get credit. You know what I mean? And you can't get paid. So I can make it easy for that. But as far as who I'm going to work with and really help develop, if you will, or mold or mentor, or whatever word terminology you want to use, to me, dude, it became really simple and just truly looking at my group and going, who stands out, man? And that will change with time. And I understood the people that got me to like say 5, 6, 7, 800 grand a month or that whatever it was. Those weren't the same people that got me to the next level. They like got on the train for a little while. But then someone in depth, typically, all of my biggest teams now came from someone in depth to where they really stepped up and took it to that next level. You know, so for me, I treat everyone like they're direct to me. So I work in depth like crazy. So if you're in my group, dude, I'm working with your team too to identify. Now, if you're capable, dude, and you're killing it, I'm in. Hey, keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? If you understand that. But at the beginning, usually they don't. And I came from that. Dude, I was 5 in depth from Kilmed who mentored me. You know, and he saw me doing more than the rest and was like, hey, dude, let's start talking more. Let's start doing more. And you know what I mean? He could help give me vision and things like that. So I just try to find who stands out from the rest, man, because those are the ones that are easier to work with. And it's less frustrating because I'm not trying to drag everyone to the same spot, you know, and then I can put some vision to them and push them towards the next steps, man. And that's been ridiculously easier.
All right, cool, man. Well, John, thanks for pouring in, man. I mean, this is super powerful, right? I mean, this is good insight information on, you know, the things that we go through as we're building an agency, and you know, all of this stuff, you know, you've learned from experience, right? We're going through the experience. So tapping you on the shoulder, asking you, hey, what can we do? How do we do it? Not only for us, but for everybody in the industry. And why don't you leave us off with this, John? In 60 seconds or less, what would you say to someone looking at this industry? Why should they build a life insurance agency? You know, what would you say to them in 60 seconds or less that you know, that would entice them to kind of take a peek at this and maybe look at this further?
And you have unlimited opportunity because there's new people every day. There's people dying every day. People need the coverage. It's an unlimited opportunity, you know, and there's tons of resources available. And if you do it correctly, it's changed my family's lives forever, ever, you know, and I've only been in the business 10 years. And our industry, financial services, life insurance, whatever, it produces more millionaires than any other industry on the planet, you know? And again, it has unlimited resources, and this industry's been around forever. So we know how to do it, you know, and it's now, but again, most people don't, because it will punch you in the face, you know, but if you're willing to go through it and go through learning this thing, it can truly just change your world forever, man. My kids and family get to do things that I'd never imagined, honestly. So
Well said.
Well, awesome, man. Hey, John, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you,
today.
John.
Guys, if you guys got value out of the episode today, do us a favor, like us, share it, follow us. We're going to continue to have other agency leaders on. We're going to continue to pour in and add value so you guys can build your life insurance agency. You guys can, set yourselves free, create that financial independence you're looking for. John, thanks again, my man. Appreciate you. Till next time, guys. See you later.
Julius.
Thanks, guys.
See you, bro.